Hello, and welcome to Friday Reads, where I tell you what I'm reading this weekend and review last week's pick. Last week, my Friday Reads was Holding Still for as Long as Possible by Zoe Whittle. Holding Still for as Long as Possible follows a group of 20-somethings living in Canada in the mid-2000s and the ways that their lives intertwine with each other and the struggles and joys that they all experience. There are three main perspectives and narratives that we're following. There is Josh, who is a trans female-to-male paramedic, his girlfriend, Amy, and Billy, who is a former teen singer, super child singer star. So I picked this up because I heard about it on one of my Book Riot podcasts, and I needed a book for the Read Harder Challenge that was by or about a trans individual, which, like I said, one of the main characters, Josh, does identify as trans. So I picked it up and I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really read anything about it because I kind of wanted to just go into it, and I ended up really enjoying this book. So it's very character driven. There is some plot, but there's also not really a plot. It's really about the relationships between Josh and Amy and Billy and Maria and Roxy and all these other characters that pop up in the lives of these 20-somethings. And so it's about those relationships. It's also about just who these people are, what their quirks are, their challenges, their strengths, their mental health, how they deal with all these different things. And it is just a really fascinating look at this small group of fictional, but small group of people. I think my favorite aspect of this book was reading about the paramedic calls on Josh's narratives, because he is a paramedic, he rides in the ambulance, and Zoe Whittle does a really interesting job of describing some of the calls that Josh gets in the book. And I am super fascinated with all of that stuff, and it was the perfect amount of kind of not gruesome without being gory. So there were some gross calls, there were some scary calls, there were some icky calls, but never did I feel like it was too much gore or too much violence or anything like that, which I really appreciated, and I felt like it really gave Josh's narrative in particular a lot of depth. Now, on the flip side, Amy, the character of Amy, is in film, like indie film production, and I felt like she was sort of a third wheel to Josh and Billy's perspectives. So you get the three perspectives, but Amy's definitely was the weakest for me. I didn't really get a sense of her job like I did with the other two. I didn't really get a sense of, we got to see things from her perspective, but it just didn't feel as rich and deep as either Josh or Billy. So that was a little disappointing, just that we didn't get as much from Amy as the other two. But overall, I thought this was a really great book, and I'm really glad I picked it up. I never would have. I didn't even know it existed, so I'm super happy that I grabbed it. So that is Holding Still for as Long as Possible by Zoe Whittle. Now on to what I'm reading this weekend. I talked about, I think on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, definitely in my November wrap-up, that I got to pick my new book of the month, and it is You Will Know Me by Megan Abbott. And I am thrilled that this was one of the options this month because I wanted to read this, and so I'm reading it, and I'm actually more than halfway done with it. I'm going to finish it today, Friday. That is my goal. It is just wonderful and wonderful. So it follows this family whose daughter, Devin, is an elite gymnast. She's one of the best in the nation, and she's trying to get up to the Olympic level. And so it follows her and her family as a tragedy strikes the gymnastics gym, Devin's gym. Tragedy strikes, and things get way more complicated than they appear to be on the surface, and things get a lot more sinister than you may think. It is just so far a perfect mix of show parent, devoted parent, creepy side characters, suspicious actions, crazy teenagers, and just distaste for so many characters. Right now, I think there's one character, and it's Devin's like 11-year-old brother. He's the only one I actually like. So I am just loving this, and I can't wait to finish it and see what happens. And so that's what I'm reading. You Will Know Me by Megan Abbott. That's all I've got for this week's Friday Reads. You can check out all my past Friday reads, all our discussion videos, book reviews, wrap-up posts, podcast. All of that is at gameandread.com. And you can follow us on social media. We are on Twitter, Instagram, and Litzy at Game and Read. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.